So we are indeed very, very fortunate to have with us one of the senior-most disciples of Srila Prabhupada, Her Grace Rukmini Mataji. Hari Bol!
Thank you all so much. It's so wonderful always to be here with the Radha Gopinath family. Always feel so welcomed and so loved. So thank you so much for always welcoming little me and big Gauravani. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Ballabha Giribharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Ballabha Giribharadhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Munati Jari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Jaya Gopi Channa Vallabha Giri Varadhari Jaya Gopi Channa Vallabha Giri Varadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Muna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Tira Banacha Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Gopinatha Radha Gopinatha Radhe Gopinatha Radhe. Jaya Lalita Vishaka Jaya Lalita Vishaka Jaya Lalita Vishaka Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Lalita Vishaka Jaya Lalita Vishaka Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Gopalnath Ji Jaya Gopalnath Ji Jaya Gopalnath Ji Jaya Gopalnath Ji Gopalnath Ji Jaya Gopalnath Ji Jaya Gopalnath Ji Jaya Gopalnath Jishi Goranitai Jaya 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 Goranitai Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Ananta Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramansa Pariprajakacharya Astitara Satashi Shiman Shilabai Charan Aravinda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Mathura Dhama Ki Jai Navadip Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Book Distribution Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Shri Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Mandir Ki Jai. Thank you all so much for being here to pluck flower petals, thousands and millions and trillions of flower petals to go into the hundreds of baskets. Such a beautiful festival. So since today is the flower festival, I thought I should speak from the verse in Bhagavad Gita that speaks about offering Krishna a flower. And if I'll chant the verse, and I think many of you know this verse, we can chant it repetitively. This is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse number 26. Patram pushpam palam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachchati tadaham bhakti uparatam bhakti uparatam asnami prayatatmanaha. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachchati tadaham bhakti uparitam asnami prayatatmana. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachchati tadaham bhakti uparatam asnami prayatatmana. Patram pushpam palam toyam bhaktya prayachchati yam bhakti uparatam asnami prayatatmana. Patram pushpam palam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachiti taraham bhakti paritam asnami prayatatmana. Anyone else? Patram pushpam palam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachiti taraham bhakti paritam ashnami prayatatmanaha. Please? You wanted to chant? Patram pushpam balam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachiti taraham bhakti paritam asnami prayatatmanaha. Beautiful. Okay. If one offers, Krishna says in 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, if one offers me with love and devotion, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. So Lord Shri Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, the supreme object of all love and the beneficiary of all sacrifice. And he teaches us in this beautiful, important verse that he only accepts offerings that are saturated in love. So while you're plucking the petals from the flowers, make sure that you're saturating them, soaking them in your love. Otherwise, he won't really accept them. Really, even the leaf, the flower, the fruit, or water is not really being accepted by him unless it's offered in love. Krishna is only accepting our loving devotion or our tiny attempts at loving devotion. Maybe you might think, oh, I don't really have any loving devotion, but he also accepts sincerity of the heart. So he accepts any sincere attempt in the direction of love. There's actually one verse that says that if you've even said Krishna's name one time, then you've already rolled up your sleeves and you've already started the journey back to home, back to God. So, yeah. So when you think about a simple flower, right? Think about a rose or a chrysanthemum or even a lowly marigold. Flowers only exist for their beauty and their fragrance. Think about that. They don't have big PhDs or big fat jobs and salaries in London or New York or Mumbai. They just only exist in simplicity and fragrance, only to give pleasure. So in the same way, we can also aspire to exist in simplicity and to only exist to give pleasure to Krishna. We're all trying to cultivate our own bhakti creepers in the gardens of our hearts. And Lord Shri Krishna is like a beautiful tamal tree, and Shri Radha is like a loving vine, embracing that tree of all life. It's very interesting that all religious traditions of the world talk about the tree of life. Christians in Islam, it's everywhere. So Krishna is that tree of life, that beautiful blackish tamal tree of life, and Radha is embracing him like a beautiful vine. And we can aspire to be like the leaves and flowers and delicious fruits of loving devotional service blooming on that beautiful creeper of love of Sri Radha. And cultivating the bhakti creeper in our hearts means to be aspiring for that creeper to bloom. What does it mean? You have a bhakti creeper. We've all read it. We've all heard it, right? We're supposed to be cultivating the bhakti creeper in our hearts. But what does it really mean? It means that we should be aspiring for that creeper to bloom in prema bhakti rasa with beautiful fragrant flowers and delicious fruits of ecstatic, unalloyed love of our hearts for Radha and Krishna to enjoy. So the goddess of Bhakti, Bhakti Devi, is actually expanded from the heart of Sri Radha. She is an expansion of Sri Radha. Loving devotional service is bestowed upon us by her grace. And when she may become pleased to cast her merciful sidelong glance on us, then Bhakti can then ignite and grow and sprout in our hearts. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also talked about himself as that tree of loving devotional service. And he also called himself its gardener. That's mystical, right? He's the tree, but he's also the gardener. And he asks a question in the beginning of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He puts this question out to the world, that he as one gardener, how can he himself distribute all these delicious fruits and flowers of bhakti all by himself? So he's asking us to help him by growing loving devotional service within ourselves and then sharing it with the world. Because you can't really give what you don't have, right? So if I think I'm going to preach, I'm going to distribute millions of books, but if I don't have any love in my heart, then I can't really give. I can give Prabhupada's books and they will act effectively and dynamically. But you know, when you're out distributing books, people are actually looking to see, well, who is this person? And you're really kind of selling your own self. People are looking, well, if I buy this book, maybe I'll become like that person. And if that person is very gentle, loving, sincere, then devotees everywhere who are in the temples, in the kirtans, on the streets, wherever they are, they can help to ignite people's hearts. But if we go out in the world or in the temple and people find us to be not so sincere, not so kind, maybe a bit arrogant, bossy, pushy, sectarian, fanatical, then that bhakti, we're actually putting blockages and people will not be able to so easily catch. They'll catch it, but it might take longer, right? So, you are Lord Chaitanya's empowered representative, no matter what you're doing. If you're plucking flowers, distributing a book, in kirtan, you're representing Lord Chaitanya, and someone may not want to taste that fruit that Lord Chaitanya is distributing if we don't help them to see how precious and valuable and priceless it is, right? So, Lord Krishna has so many names. Govinda, Madhava, what's your favorite name? Gopinath. Good, you're in the right place at the right time. Okay. Shamasundar. Anybody else have a very favorite name of Krishna? Makanchor. Okay, we're going to get to that name later. Good, very good. So Krishna has another name that's not so well known. It is Vanamali, which means he's a forest gardener. So, it's a very special name. He's a forest gardener. And there's a place in Vrindavan at Govardhan called Kusum Sarovara. Maybe many of you have been there. And raise your hand if you've been there. Yeah. Lots of people have been there. And there's some beautiful deities there. They're in the form of shalagrams. There's a temple called Shishi Radha Vanabihari Mandir. And before Srila Prabhupada came to the West, whenever he would visit Vrindavan, he would often stay there. And he named Yamuna Devi's deities after those deities. Radha Vanabihari Ji. Yeah. So in this beautiful temple, it's a very sweet, intimate pastime that we see there. That if you haven't been there, I highly suggest you go there, right next to the lake of Kusum Sarovara. So in this temple, Radha and Krishna are being worshipped. Krishna is, believe it or not, combing and decorating Sri Radha's hair. And Sri Radha is watching, looking in a mirror to see if Krishna's doing a good job and looking at her beauty. So in another part of Vrindavan, in Varshana, starting in Varshana, but also in other places, there's a festival that's celebrated every year called Sanji. I don't know if you've heard of it, but this is a festival when ladies go back to visit their parents' home. And at that time, Sri Radha goes back to Varshana, to her parents' home, to the home of Vrishabhanu Maharaj and Kirtidas Sundari. And at that time, it's so far from Vrindavan, and she's feeling great separation from Krishna, being so far from Vrindavan. And the tradition of this festival is that in order to remember Krishna, she paints beautiful pictures of Krishna and decorates them with beautiful colored flowers and powders to remind her of Krishna's leelas while she's so far away, to help her ease her pangs of burning separation from Krishna. So this Sanji is also a goddess called Katyayani. And you might remember from having read Krishna book, hopefully you've read Krishna book, you can read it again and again. The gopis all gathered together and they were worshiping this goddess Katyayani every day in the cold season, and they were praying to her to get Krishna as their husband. And every day they were bathing in the cold Yamuna River, and Krishna fulfilled their desire by appearing and stealing their clothes. So someone said Makanchor is their favorite name. So he steals, but was that you, Raghunath, said Makanchor? That sounds like something Raghunath would say. So he's not only Makanchor, but he's also Vastrachor. He steals clothes, he steals hearts. Basically, he's famous as a thief in Vrindavan. And so why is it that he became their husband just by stealing their clothes? It's because a husband is only supposed to see his wife without her clothes on. And the gopis were seen by Krishna as only a husband can see his wife. And ultimately, Krishna fulfilled their desires to get him as their husband by dancing with them all for an entire night of Brahma in the rasa dance of love. So that's a gigantic, gargantuan amount of time that can't be calculated in our human brains. But actually, that rasa dance is eternally going on. I want to share something very beautiful, that one Christian scholar, he was a Methodist minister, his name was Dr. Larry Shin, and he studied ISKCON. He traveled extensively in India, and he wrote a book about us called The Dark Lord. And the first interview he speaks about in that book is his interview with His Holiness Radhanath Swami. And and he was also our partner in dialogue for many, many years. Maybe some of you know Anuttama Prabhu and I and others have Vaishnava Christian dialogue that's continued for 28 years in Washington, D.C. We've had a Vaishnava Christian dialogue in India also. That one's online right now. But he passed away a few months ago this year. But he said something very, very deep and wise that I wanted to share with you about Krishna's rasa dance. So just imagine, this is his realization from his heart, the heart of a Christian scholar who was very reverent to our bhakti tradition. So he said that Krishna's rasa dance, which is we understand to be the highest, most ultimate, intimate pastime of Lord Krishna, Krishna and the gopis dancing, facing each other. But he had this profound realization that he said the rasa dance is also a wonderful metaphor, a great metaphor for building community. If we think about, instead of facing in, facing each other, if we think of maybe facing out and reaching out to include all living beings in Krishna's dance of love. Isn't that beautiful? Did you all get that? It's really, really beautiful. And so, for the last, Haribo, the twins are here, the festival can begin. Haribo. Haribo. And Gauravani's here. Now the festival can really begin. Haribo. So for the last many days, many of us here have been at Govardhan Eco Village. And so that community, that beloved community that this Dr. Larry Shin was describing, that's what I see happening there at Govardhan Eco Village and here as well. Human beings from near and far, tribal, indigenous people, sometimes affluent people from Europe, Australia, North and South America, so many beloved cows, all kinds of animals, swans, donkeys, goats, flowering trees, medicinal herbs, butterflies, songbirds, all are gathered together in this beloved community of all living beings, all coming together as part of Lord Sri Krishna and Sri Radha's beloved community. As this is a phrase that was used by Dr. Martin Luther King. This was a great aspiration of his, that our world should be united as a beloved community. So you can see that's happening by the love of beautiful, great devotees. In our group for the last many years, we have a little girl who joins us with her mother. Her mother is Ashley, and the little girl's name is Mila. And are they here? I don't know if they're here yet. Maybe they're not here yet. But anyway, Mila, last year, she said she saw the rasa dance diorama that's there right by the Yamuna. And she saw the Krishnas in between each gopi. And she asked, which one is the real Krishna? It was such a sweet question. So the real Krishna is your personal Krishna who's dancing next to you, right? And your own personal Krishna who's dancing in your own heart as well. That's the real Krishna. So last year she was the same size as the gopis, but now she's in kindergarten. Now she's a little bigger, so yeah. But last year she's looking at them eye to eye at the rasa dance diorama. So it's so beautiful. So which is the real Krishna, the one that you love, right? There's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam that says that we should become attached to Swapriya Nama, our most favorite name. We should try to be engaged in chanting the name of Krishna that activates our heart, that we love the most. So think about that. Sing the kirtan, sing the names that you love the most, Haribo. Yeah. So in Vrindavan, there's a forest called Pushpavan. And I have a godbrother named Pushpavan. He was at GEV. I don't know if he's here right now today. But it's really funny. Prabhupada named him Pushpavan, and he's actually a gardener. He loves flowers, and he loves gardens, and Prabhupada named him Pushpavan. So the name Pushpavan means a forest full of flowers. Yes. So once Radharani, when she was at home at her father's house during this Sanji festival, she'd already picked all the flowers at home, and she went out to this Pushpavan forest, hoping, longing to meet Krishna there in this forest of Pushpavan. And there's so many different kinds of beautiful flowers. There are many, many kinds of jasmine and so many other flowers of every color, like we see here today. Pink chrysanthemums and red roses and yellow and even humble marigolds. And so she just was hoping to meet Krishna there while she was out searching for more flowers. The cuckoos were singing sweetly, eating mango buds from the trees, making their voices more sweet. And guess what? In the distance, she saw Krishna. This is actually back at Govardhan, actually. And she saw Krishna just slowly roaming around in the forest, smiling sweetly. And he was dressed as a gardener. So I don't really know what that means. I don't know what color that is, but maybe it was the color that Radha Gopinath are wearing today, kind of a greenish, kind of a turquoise. But he wasn't in his usual yellow color. He was dressed like a gardener, kind of in disguise. And he was alone, just strolling around, just pretending to be out enjoying the beauty of the forest. And Krishna saw so many gopis along with Radharani, and he boldly, audaciously declared to them that this flower forest belongs to King Kamadev, Cupid, right? And who are you gopis who've come to pick flowers when this forest actually belongs to King Cupid, the king of this forest? So actually, we should know that Krishna is that King Cupid. And the last line of the Gayatri mantra mentions Kamadev, that Krishna is the transcendental Cupid. So think about it. The whole world is bewildered by Cupid, which means bewildered by the desire for sexual pleasure. But as we learn at Govardhan Eco Village, that Lord Madan Mohan is the one who enchants, even the one who enchants the whole world. Then, of course, Radharani has the name Madan Mohan Mohini, right? But so Krishna, in this audacious mood, starts accusing the gopis. Who are you gopis who've come to pick flowers here? Don't you know that this forest belongs to King Cupid? The gopis, they just ignored him. And then Krishna retaliated even more. You arrogant thieves! He's calling them thieves. These are his dearmost devotees. And he's calling them thieves. And so he was making a quarrel with them. And these quarrels between Krishna and the gopis, we have to understand that they're unlike the quarrels of this world, of our world, right? And they're beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna and the gopis. There's so much sarcasm, right? Like if someone in your family is sarcastic to you, you might get a little angry. But in these pastimes, there's sarcasm, there's politics. We hate politics, right? But in their pastimes, there's politics and false accusations, innuendo, name-calling. But it's all drenched in the highest love, in their spiritual love, without any tinge of matter. As Srila Prabhupada says, no material inebriety. So in the material world, even our loves are so tainted so often, or maybe always, with so many material inebrities, material motivations, and selfishness, right? But in their lovers' quarrels between Radha and Krishna and the gopis, they're actually decorating each other. Just like right now we're plucking petals, and tonight Radha Gopinath and all the other deities will be decorated with these beautiful flowers. So in the loving quarrels of Radha and Krishna, they're actually decorating each other with the flowers of their loving words, and they're giving each other the highest pleasure, really, all in order to just come closer to loving Krishna. So they're accusing Krishna. They're saying, Krishna, you are devastating this entire forest. Oh, Krishna said that to them. You, Radha, and you gopis, you are devastating this entire forest by stealing all the flowers. And then Radharani said, you dare to accuse us? You are every day destroying Vrindavan with millions of cows trampling all over this forest. How dare you, Krishna? And Krishna came back with this. He says, I come with cows authorized by King Kamadev, and you gopis are here ignoring this king. Radharani said, come on. Since your very childhood, you have been called the name Raghunath. What's your favorite name? You have been called Makanchor. You are famous in Vrindavan. Since your childhood, everyone knows you're a thief. stealing butter from other people's houses from morning to evening. And Radharani tells him, I, Radharani, am the rightful queen of Vrindavan, and I have been coronated by all of the Devatas. And I now, as the queen of Vrindavan, Vrindavaneshwari, I now make a formal decree, you, Krishna, for foolishly declaring that this Vrindavan forest belongs to some imaginary King Kamadev by falsely dressing like a gardener, coming here to accuse us innocent gopis of stealing. This Krishna has to be punished. Tie him up, lock him up. And guess what the sentence was? She told him, this boy is now going to be sentenced to the labor of combing my beautiful hair. The beautiful blackish curly hair of Sri Radha, her hair is black because she's always thinking of Krishna, blackish and shining. So Krishna is now sentenced, ordered to the hard labor of, he has to wash Sri Radha's beautiful hair with the juice of amalaki fruits. He has to dry it with soft towels. He has to smoke it with aguru smoke. He has to oil and perfume it with fragrant oils and then dry it again. And he has to perform this seva to Radharani's hair. This is Krishna's punishment. Then Krishna has to braid her glorious hair with beautiful fragrant flowers. And Krishna is so delighted. And together in a beautiful kunja with flower archways and swaying vines, lamps made of jewels, Radha sat down and there was a beautiful jewel-bedecked table, and she held a golden mirror in her hand while Krishna was combing her beautiful hair. So then Krishna went out of the kunja and to pick more flowers in a basket like this. He had a big basket. And his basket was overflowing. He had picked so many flowers. But then he wanted to wash the flowers. And he asked Lalita Devi, Radharani's dearmost gopi friend, you have any water here? And she said, no, we only have fruit juice here. We don't have any water. So Krishna took his flute and he pushed it into the ground. And he created a crystal clear lake called Kusum Sarovara. And that lake had beautiful jeweled fish made from rubies. And in a forest full of flowers, there was this beautiful Kusum Sarovara flowery lake. And the gopis were in so much ecstasy. Krishna was decorating Radha with white jasmine and all kinds of jasmine and all different colors of flowers. And Krishna made all different kinds of decorations. Like you can see the beautiful flower decorations the pujaris here at Radha Gopinath make, right? Flower earrings, flower crown, flower amulets, flower anklets, and they even made flower shoes. Just imagine how delicate. You can't wear them in New York. Flower shoes. So then Krishna hands Radharani this beautiful golden jeweled mirror, and he asked his dearmost, have I done well? And Radharani saw the loving hand of Krishna, and she just blossomed like a flower. She blossomed in ecstasy. So this lake is the heart of Govardhan. And in this place, in this Kusum Sarovara lake, maybe you know that Narada Muni, who's in every pastime, so of course he has to appear in this pastime too, he has his eternal place right next to Kusum Sarovara, where he prayed to just become a grass or a creeper in Vrindavan so that all the residents of Vrindavan and the gopis would just trample on him when they come in and out of Vrindavan. So he bathed in Kusum Sarovara, and then he was transformed into a gopi named Naradi Gopi. Did you know that? Narada became a gopi named Naradi Gopi. So Sri Radha always plays in this lake of Krishna's heart, gliding in the heart of Krishna like a beautiful swan, like at Prem Sarovara at Govardhani village. And Krishna always plays in the beautiful divine lake of Radha's heart. And they're both always gliding together there like two beautiful swans. Krishna serves Sri Radha as the life of his life, and Radha serves Krishna as the life of her life. And the heart of a devotee is also compared to a beautiful still lake, where the devotee's pure soul is gliding like a swan. Isn't that a beautiful image? That your own heart, inside your own heart, there's a beautiful still lake, and your soul is just gliding in that lake like a beautiful swan. So I want to share a story about Srila Prabhupada, that once I was serving in the Boston temple, and Srila Prabhupada was visiting there, and he spoke at the International Students Association. And he gave a very beautiful, poignant example that I always remember. He said, if you toss a pebble into the center of a still lake, picture that. Can you picture that while you're plucking? Okay, so picture that you are taking a small pebble and you toss it right into the center of a very still lake. Then what happens? Then concentric circles form and generate outward from that center, right? Expanding and expanding outward. But if you throw a pebble to this side or to that side, then what happens? You get interference patterns, right? That will all be clashing as they expand. Each one will be clashing with the other one. So Prabhupada is giving this very beautiful example. In the same way, if we center our lives on loving God, loving Krishna, or God by any name, whatever your favorite name is, then we can have so many expanding interests from that center, so many talents, so much expertise, so many ambitions even, and there won't be clashing if God is our center. But if I'm the center of my world, and you're the center of your world, or my country, or your country, as we see in the world today, so much fighting, so much clashing, and we're people full of envy, and so inebriated with pride, right? Then that's the opposite of this image of this beautiful still lake with these pebbles from being tossed into the center and the concentric circles generating out. So I hope you remember that nice metaphor. I find it very powerful. And so Radha and Krishna's pastimes do not have any material inebriety, and they are the opposite of what we see in this world. Even though they're fighting, sarcasm, tough words, calling each other's names, but because they're all centered on Krishna, loving Krishna more and more, even their quarrels, they just increase the thriving of ecstatic loving service to Krishna. So, O Lord of Radha, O Lord Radhanath, O treasure of Radhika's life, I offer my life to you, you who are defeated by Sri Radha's love. So Lord Krishna likes to be defeated by the love of his devotees, especially the greatest of all devotees, Sri Radha. And the gopis are only thinking of Krishna's pleasure, even while they're calling him bad names. That gives him pleasure. He likes it, right? You thief, you scoundrel. Yeah. In one place, in one of the Goswami's books, they call him a eunuch. And then he's accusing the gopis of raping him. So they use such strong words, but it's all for increasing the love and increasing the pleasure pastimes. So selfless service gives the greatest enjoyment. And this service is exemplified by Sri Radha and her dearmost gopi friends and servants. So in this mood, our own creepers of bhakti in our hearts can blossom and grow beautiful, fragrant flowers and delicious fruits to offer to Krishna. Yeah. And what is the nature of those fruits and flowers? They are made of the very substance of unalloyed prema bhakti rasa. That's our goal here. That's what we're doing here. So don't forget, that's what we're supposed to be doing here. Striving to awaken and bloom these beautiful flowers and fruits of unalloyed prema bhakti rasa. So as you're plucking these petals today from these flowers, maybe we can meditate that each of these petals, each one of these petals is a petal of your heart being offered in baskets of Krishna's love, to be offered later to Shri Radha Gopinath Ji by the loving hands of their dear brahmachari pujaris, who then will playfully and joyously throw them all over each other. Personally, that's my favorite part of the flower festival. When I see these usually very serious brahmacharis, they're usually very grave. And when you see them having so much fun throwing flowers all over each other, and then they throw them all over us, right? So beautiful. So stay tuned for the even higher levels of ecstasy tonight. Or perhaps while you're plucking flower petals, you could think that each one of these petals is a soul that you are speaking to about Krishna's love, helping that soul to come closer to one day, one evening like tonight, to be offered to decorate Radha and Krishna. That's what we want. We want to use our lives in service of decorating Radha and Krishna, right? So in great joy and celebration of Kirtan, this Prema Sankirtan that we've all received by the supreme grace of Lord Chaitanya, from Srila Prabhupada, from our Guru Parampara, this is a celebration of the names of Radha and Krishna combined together in union and in separation, each one increasing the other. Like waves or like flowers on the lake of love, like the lake of Kusum Sarovara. So I just wanted to suggest in closing that maybe we can pray today to Lord Gopinath Ji, Radha Gopinath, Lalita Vishaka, Gopal Nath Ji, Shishi Gornitai. Maybe we can pray to them today that King Cupid or Lord Kamadev comes to steal the flowers from the forest of our hearts and bring them to decorate his lotus feet on the altar of Shishi Radha Gopinath temple. So thank you all so very much. Hare Krishna. Okay, does anyone have a question, comment, complaint, sarcastic criticism? Oh, Garavani says I have to ask for questions. Raghunath, whose favorite name of Krishna is Makanchor, has a question.
Can you share your experience in 1968, how you met Prabhupada, where the world was at, and how that was such a fertile time for the Hare Krishna movement to start? Because this is the most important, this is the beginning of it all right there. And what was your frame of mind? What was it like when you met Prabhupada? And to share that beautiful story.
It's totally mystical that Prabhupada would come to the U.S. at that time. Basically, the youth of America, youth of today, right? Is that what your band was called? The youth of yesterday, we were basically burning down the whole country. The war in Vietnam was going on, and our brothers, friends were just being sent overseas for this useless war. It wasn't like my father was in World War II. It wasn't like a patriotic war where everyone was all on board, we're going to defeat fascism. It was just a useless war trumped up for no reason, so some parts of the world could make money and abuse other parts of the world, like we see today in the world, right? So it was just absolutely, completely Krishna's most mystical plan that Prabhupada should come to the US at such a time. Because if he'd come 10 years earlier, or even 10 years later, people were in a different mood. It's so interesting. Once Prabhupada was asked, why did you go to New York? Your godbrothers went to London. Why did you go to New York? And Prabhupada said something really funny. He said, because I thought if I was going to fail, I should fail in a different place. So you've all heard the story. Actually, I always recommend if you're giving a book to someone, the first book people should really read is that condensed 1-volume book about Prabhupada. If you're giving books to people, that should be the first book that people read, because then they kind of get it. They understand. Here's this person. I mean, can you imagine if you got on a plane at the Mumbai airport today and flew to New York, which he didn't do. He went by freighter ship, taking 38 or 39 days with violent seasickness. He had no phone. He had no credit card. He had no money. He had no plan. He was starving. He was homeless. And one thing that's very interesting, think about this. One lady in Mumbai she was the owner and the director of a shipping company. Okay, all of you people who think that ladies should not be allowed to have jobs, did you hear that? Any of you who think ladies should not be allowed to have jobs? The one person who funded Srila Prabhupada's passage to the US was one lady in Mumbai who had her own shipping company. He didn't get help from his godbrothers. He didn't get help from any big industrialists in Mumbai or anywhere else in India. He didn't have any institutional support. And he went to New York, and it was the coldest winter in the history of New York. And he went there in his rubber shoes. Yeah. I mean, it's just inconceivable. So I think it's a good idea to read that book about Prabhupada, find out about his character, his selflessness, and how we can also learn selflessness from him. It's a most extraordinary time. And Allen Ginsberg told him, what you're trying to do here is impossible. Nobody's going to follow all of these rules that you think people are going to follow. And Prabhupada said, if I told you all the rules, you would faint. But it's amazing because someone who is really quite a decadent personality, Allen Ginsberg, he had a vision of a blue hand in the sky, Krishna's hand. And he's the one who helped Prabhupada get his first long-term visa in the US. So Prabhupada was helped by so many. He accepted help from any person, any dog-like person like me, So Prabhupada's mercy was so unlimited. He was mercy without borders, compassion without borders. And so that's the mood in which we have to spread his movement forward, not with sectarian ideas of who can do this and who can do that, and who can't do this and who can't do that. No, that's not Prabhupada's mood. Prabhupada engaged, actually, once, all you ladies out there, Prabhupada said, my godbrothers criticize me for engaging women equally to the men, but they do not know. That is why I have been successful. They do not know. That was his secret formula. So he told that. You can ask Shruti Kirti Prabhu for confirmation. He told that to Shruti Kirti Prabhu while he was giving him a massage. So, does that answer a little bit? Okay, so I met Prabhu. So, okay, Can I keep talking or is... Okay. All right. Okay, so I came to Krishna consciousness in Haight-Ashbury, 1968. It was the summer of love had already passed, and it was really becoming quite decadent in San Francisco. But I found the temple there on Frederick Street, and it was right next to a laundromat. All the temples used to be storefronts, and so many of them were right next to a laundromat, which was so funny because it was like cleanliness is next to godliness, right? There's a laundromat next door. But anyway, so I came to Krishna consciousness there, and it was the most amazing, I would say, power chakra of amazing devotees in that temple. So just to name a few names that you might recognize, the devotees in that temple were, of course, the 6 who went to London along with the little baby in tow, Saraswati, those 6. But in addition to that, there was Jai Prataka, not Maharaj yet, Tamal Krishna, not Maharaj yet, Vishnu Jan, not Maharaj yet, Madhujvisha, all these powerful devotees were there in that temple. Jayananda, maybe you've heard stories of the great Jayananda, who Prabhupada thanks in the beginning of Nectar of Devotion for donating his life savings to publish Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion. So it was such a power chakra. So the first person to talk to me in that temple, so the 6 who went to London, I should mention, Shyamasundar and Malati, Mukunda and his wife, he became sannyasi, his wife Janaki, and Gurdas and Yamuna Devi and baby Saraswati. So the first person to talk to me in that temple when I walked in was Tamal Krishna, future Swami, and he wasn't even shaved up yet. He'd just come a few months before. And that's a colorful story in and of itself. Anyway, skip that one. But so anyway, he was showing me around the temple room. We were walking around the circumference of the temple room, looking at the paintings. And when we saw the painting of Lord Nrsingadev, I said, "Oh, that's horrible." And he just looked at me like I was the craziest person. And he said, "That is Lord Nrsingadev. All the devotees love Lord Nrsingadev." And I went, "Oh, I'm sorry." But anyway, he was very, very kind. And so because he was so kind, he advised me, he said, when these 6 go off to London, there's not going to be any serious devotee association here in this temple for a young woman devotee. So you should either go to London with them, or because I was interested in art, he said, maybe you should go to Boston to paint, because there was a little group of young women painting in Boston, learning to paint for Prabhupada's books. So, and then he said, probably it's better that you go to Boston, because in London they don't really have any place. They don't know, they're probably going to all be split up all over London, which in fact happened. They don't know where they're going to be staying. So I did go to Boston. And it was funny because when I was still in San Francisco, one of the devotees took me aside and said, "This is really typical." Even back then, this is so funny. Maybe things like this have happened to you. So one of the devotees took me aside and said, you really shouldn't go see Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada was resident in Montreal. So they were stopping in Montreal to get Prabhupada's blessings before going on to London. So that's why I was initiated in Montreal. So this devotee took me aside in San Francisco and said, you really shouldn't go see Prabhupada. You should just stay here and do service. And then this other devotee told me privately, you can be sure if he had the money, he'd be going too. So that was sweet. So then, we went to Montreal, and we went and saw Srila Prabhupada, he was in a rented apartment that was near McGill University. At that time, the Montreal temple was a converted bowling alley. It was really funny. What had been the lanes for the bowling, they had put these like plastic vinyl sheets spread out over the lanes so nobody would fall into a bowling lane. And then there was sort of like a a madras tablecloth dividing the temple room from the grihasta quarters, which were all divided into little squares of madras cloths hanging, which was the back. Anyway, yeah, and Jayapataka, future Maharaj, became the president of that temple. He was a draft dodger. He had to run away from the U.S., otherwise they were going to send him to Vietnam. So quite a few men were running away to Canada and India. Achyutananda Swami came to India because he was afraid of being drafted. Anyway, so we went to see Srila Prabhupada in this little apartment near McGill University. And I have to honestly say, when we first walked in and I saw Srila Prabhupada, he was, you know how you see paintings of angels with a halo around them in medieval paintings? It wasn't like that. He was completely, it was like he had a Brahma Jyoti around him. He was, you know how they have this cliche, she lights up the room. No, it wasn't like that. He had, I have to honestly say, maybe I made it up in my brain, I don't know. But anyway, it was like he had a Brahma Jyoti effulgence around him. He was so effulgent. And yeah. And then Yamuna Devi said, we called him Swamiji at that time. And Yamuna Devi said, Swamiji, this is Wendy. And she's only 16 years old and she would like to become your disciple. And it's really funny. Prabhupada, his face kind of wrinkled up a little bit. And he said, but where are your parents? It was so funny. He was feeling the pain of my parents. Think about it. He was feeling the pain of my parents. So, yeah. So then I was initiated. My father came to my initiation. And Srila Prabhupada said it was a beautiful time, actually. Srila Prabhupada was speaking from the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. Very, very beautiful lectures. If you ever get a chance to listen to those Montreal lectures, summer of 1968, he was there for 4 months. But anyway, so he gave me initiation. I'd been coming to the temple for about 2 weeks, from the first time I first walked into the temple, because at that time, there was no disciple course. There was no, if they could ask, well, who is Krishna? If you could say, well, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I heard, somebody told me. Then you could be initiated. So that's how it was then. And so he had never told the story of Rukmini before. So at my initiation, maybe because I was so young, because Rukmini was also very young, and so maybe you know this story. Raise your hand if you don't know the story of Rukmini getting kidnapped by Krishna. Okay, so Rukmini was a princess, and she was trained in diplomacy being a princess. And so her father knew, everyone knew. Should I keep talking? Is this all right? Okay. I could just talk forever, but okay, so. Yeah. So because she was a princess, she understood diplomacy. And what happened was everyone knew she was meant to be married to Krishna. But her brother hated Krishna. Her brother's name was Rukmini. And he was so evil. He hated Krishna. He was good friends with all the other demoniac kings. In the beginning of Krishna book, Prabhupada says, the world was overburdened by demoniac rulers usurping the earth. So he was friends with all the other bad guys, Sisupal, Jarasandha. So her brother was bad. Anyway, so Sisupal, this hideous person he was Krishna's cousin. Any of you have a cousin who hates your guts? It's probably not as bad today as Sisupal. Maybe you have a cousin who's bad. The Pandavas had some bad cousins, right? Maybe today it could be bad, but maybe it's not that bad, right? Maybe they're not trying to kill you. But anyway, so where was I? Oh yeah, so this Sisupal, Krishna's cousin who hated him from his birth, it was fated, it was understood by destiny that Krishna would one day kill Sisupal. That's what the astrologer said when he was born. And Sisupal's mother, Krishna's auntie, felt so bad about that. I mean, imagine if you have a nephew that the astrologer says is going to kill your baby one day. She was really upset. So Krishna, in order to calm down his auntie, who he loved, Krishna told her, don't worry, auntie. I'll give him 100 chances to blaspheme me. So from the beginning of his life, Krishna was just counting. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Finally, it got up to 100 at the Rajasuya sacrifice, and Krishna sent his Sudarshan chakra. But anyway, back to Rukmini. So Sisupal was coming to marry her in the next couple of days. And so she wrote a letter to Krishna. And she sent that letter with a very trusted Brahmana who she knew to be very truthful. So if you're a Brahmana, if you have Brahman initiation, understand you're supposed to be truthful and trustworthy, that anyone could trust you with their most intimate secret letter, right? That's the way you're supposed to be. You know, peaceful, truthful, clean. Anyway, so she trusted this Brahmin. She sent Krishna a letter with this trusted Brahmin. Anyway, Krishna came and kidnapped her. And tell more detail. Okay. Everyone's just.
Hare Krishna. Is everyone enjoying the katha?
Yeah, so what happened was, so Krishna came just in the nick of time, like a great drama. And she told him exactly where to come and when to come, because it was her family tradition that the bride, before the wedding, should go and get blessings from the goddess Devi across from the palace. So she told Krishna, this is the time, this is the place, come and kidnap me. This is not like kidnappings that we hear about today that you read in the newspaper. No. She wanted Krishna to kidnap her. She was begging him. And Krishna knew that she was his eternal consort. So he accepted her loving prayers, her loving letter. So she was so worried that he wasn't going to come. It was getting later and later. And she was thinking, maybe I offended Lord Shiva and Goddess Devi for not worshiping them. I only worship Krishna. Maybe they're angry at me. Maybe he's not going to come. Who am I anyway? I'm just an arrogant princess. I'm not worthy of him. He's the supreme personality of Godhead. And she was thinking of all these reasons why Krishna probably would not come. And so anyway, just in the nick of time, when she was walking across from the palace to the temple of Devi, Krishna came on his chariot. And well, first of all, I have to say that all these princes are there. And in one of these wedding stories in Krishna book, Prabhupada says, these Kshatriyas, these martial order royal kings, they used to like going to weddings, but they would really like going for the fight. Not so much what the ladies like to do, see all the beautiful bride and flowers. No, they came for the fight. Thanks, I'll just spill it. Yeah, so they came for the fight. So when Rukmini was walking across from the palace, these lusty kings were like falling off their horses, looking at her beauty. She was so beautiful, and she was just looking right past every single one of them, just playing with the ring on her finger, just thinking, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Is he even going to come? Am I going to be defeated in my prayer? Anyway, she's slowly walking, playing with the ring on her finger, looking past all the faces of these hideous princes, and then she saw Krishna. So Krishna comes like riding up at the speed of light on his horses, beautiful chariot with horses, and he just grabbed Rukmini and put her on his chariot, and then he started shooting arrows at all these arrogant, useless, demoniac kings. And so he's shooting arrows. Who's driving the chariot? Of course, Rukmini was a princess. She knew how to drive a chariot. So she's driving the chariot, holding the reins, and they just escaped out of there. And it was a bit of a bloody scene, but sometimes you have these scenes in Krishna book. Don't worry, it's all Krishna's blessing, because he gives liberation to the ones he kills. So Everyone is happy in the end. So anyway, back to the initiation. Is this all right? Yeah. Okay, so back to the initiation. So Prabhupada told the story of Rukmini for the first time, and he said, so you are a beautiful girl, and Krishna can accept any number of beautiful girls, and one day Krishna will kidnap you. Yeah. Did you hear that? He said, one day Krishna will kidnap you. And then he said, so you're a beautiful girl, now become more beautiful within also. So that's the lifetime instruction that I think is for all of us. Whether you're a brahmachari, grihastha man, lady, child, whoever you are, I think that's an important eternal lifelong instruction for us all. Whatever you are, whoever you are, become more beautiful within also. So that was very, very nice instruction from Srila Prabhupada. So yeah, that's the story of the initiation. Yeah. There you go. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Well, does anyone else have a question? I mean, first service to Srila Prabhupada, maybe it was washing his clothes in Montreal. Sometimes I would see him through. Montreal is called Montreal because it's built on a mountain. It's Montreal. It's built on the Royal Mountain. So sometimes I would be washing Prabhupada's clothes and I could see Prabhupada walking up the mountain with Chowpatty, future Swami. Yeah, so I think that was probably the first. Any other questions? Yes? What's yours? Gopinath. You said that. Yeah. Okay, so you're in the right place at the right time doing the right service. So my favorite name of Krishna is Govinda Madhava. I really like Govinda Madhava. Yeah. Yeah. Navanita Taskara. Yeah. More butter stealing. So yeah. Okay. So you have a question? Thank you all so much for plucking flowers. Thank you all for putting the love of your heart into the basket of love and the flowers from the forests of your heart. And also plucking so many sincere souls as you walk the world to offer to Krishna. Thank you very much. Haribol. Haribol.